Hi, friends, and welcome to a special Christmas edition podcast. I'm so glad you're here, and I cannot wait to introduce you to today's guest. But before we go there, I have a few thoughts to share with you today about Christmas and Advent and hope. It's hard to believe, but Christmas is here already, and I suddenly want all things peppermint and pine. Anybody with me? This time of year is full of so much anticipation. Anticipation of the Christmas specialty piping hot latte, the lit candle that fills the room with the smell of Christmas and comfort, and of course, the anticipation of Christmas Day. In 2018, my family and I eagerly anticipated the arrival of my second son, who was due to arrive about a month after Christmas. Waiting to meet him was like watching grass grow. The wait was torture. If you've read my first book, that's for sure, you know growing a family did not come easy for me and my husband. We certainly didn't expect this particular struggle when we married. Nevertheless, it took 5 years of surgeries, medicines, doctor visits, and heaps of hope to bring our firstborn son into the world. And shortly after he was born, baby fever hit again like a colossal wave, and I went through another round of surgeries, medicines, doctor visits, and hope. There were many days I told myself to give up on the surgeries, on the medicine, and yes, even the hope. Ironically, though, the hope was the hardest thing to let go of. Even when it's desperately hard, we tend to cling to even the tiniest shimmer of hope, don't we? I believe this has everything to do with the fact we were created to hope because we were created by Jesus, who is our living hope. The years spent hoping for my oldest were filled with so many emotional, desperate, often angry prayers to God. And the same is true of the years between my two sons. The song lyrics from "O Holy Night" ring loud for me year after year. The lyrics go, "A thrill of hope, a weary world rejoices." Is there something in your life you are clinging on to hope for? Are you weary? Before Jesus arrived as a baby, 400 years passed since people had heard from God. What a weary world that must have been. People must have wondered where God was. He hadn't spoken to them through a prophet like he had for generations past. Was he there? Was he listening? Did he care? Why the long silence? I don't know, but I do believe he was actively working and moving the entire time. Because if there's one overarching theme of the Bible, it's his relentless love for his people, for you and for me. A love that acts and has proven the goodness and faithfulness of God time and time again. He's not a silent God, but a God who moves and acts on behalf of his children. Jesus was born one quiet, dark night. No fanfare, no grand entrance one would expect for a king. In the most unexpected way, hope pierced the night sky. I love the fact that Jesus' birth was first announced to shepherds. Shepherds whose occupation was lowly were the first to hear of Jesus' humble arrival. I wonder what was on their minds minutes before the angels with the good news of Jesus' birth appeared in the dark. Were they weary? Were they tired? Were they dissatisfied with their lowly occupation? Did they feel hopeless that any change would come their way anytime soon? Were they worried their children would inherit their same circumstances? Did they wonder where God was and if he heard their cries? Their circumstances may very well have seemed hopeless, and yet they were the first to hear the good news of Jesus' birth. An angelic choir burst into song, and a thrill of hope pierced the dark night and their weary hearts. I believe God wants to pierce whatever darkness, weariness, hopelessness you are experiencing today with the thrill of his hope. Because he is hope for the single mom working multiple jobs to make ends meet. Hope for the Christian woman married to a man who does not yet know Jesus. Hope for the parents of a wayward teen or adolescent. Hope for the one going through divorce. Hope for the foster child who longs for a family. Hope for the exploited. Hope for the one drowning in debt. Hope for the single one who longs for a spouse and a family. Hope for the one who's lost vision and longs to discover their calling and chase their passion. Hope for the sick and the dying. Hope for the refugee forced to leave their home country with uncertainty of their future. Hope for the couple experiencing infertility. Hope for the addicted. Hope for the depressed. Hope for the abandoned. Hope for the persecuted. Hope for the grieving. Hope for the hurting. Hope for the broken. Hope for the lost. Hope for the unsettled. Hope heals. I don't know where you need hope and healing, but I do know God is not afraid of stepping into whatever you are currently facing. He willingly, lovingly, and kindly steps into the very dark night you face in order to rescue, restore your hope in Him, and lead you to healing. It's in the darkest night He shines the brightest light, and in the deepest despair, He is always there. In this season, we use Advent calendars to count down to Jesus' arrival as a baby and to naturally indulge in our daily dose of chocolate, of course. But for the followers of Jesus, we also count down until the day Jesus returns, when at last the weary world will be weary no more. This is Advent, a longing for home. And on that day, an angelic choir will sing again, and all pain and weariness will be wiped away forever. A day is coming when your dark night will end and your day will shine bright as noon. We have this future hope because 33 years after Jesus came to earth, He died. And then He raised Himself back to life during, you guessed it, a dark night. His friend Mary Magdalene found Him on the dawn of the third day. And I imagine she ran faster than Bolt to tell the disciples and friends of Jesus that He was alive. Living hope is here. Do you know what the very next line to O Holy Night is after the weary world rejoices? It's for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. A new morning is coming. Friend, whatever dark night you find yourself in today, it will end. A new dawn is coming. Continue to talk it out with Jesus. He hears each and every word you say, you think, you speak. He's not far off. He's here and He's near. Hope has come. Colossians 1:20 tells us that Jesus is actively reconciling and making all things new right now. He's working all things out for you. For some of us, we'll see change in our lifetime. Yet for others, hope actualized may not happen until Jesus returns. The shepherd's circumstances didn't change after meeting baby Jesus. They went right back into the field. But I'm willing to bet there was a skip in their step and a newfound joy in their hearts because they had met the Savior of the world in living hope, Jesus. They were witness to seeing the God who had indeed heard their prayers and was undoubtedly with them. Even when I thought I had lost hope for a second child, hope was there. It's the only explanation for the boxes upon boxes of baby items I held on to after my oldest was done with them. I didn't realize how I clung to hope, even when I didn't feel like it, until I discovered and uncovered more than a year's worth of baby clothes kept for nearly 5 years. And I don't share one of my personal struggles of clinging to hope for pity or praise. I share with you because hope fuels and grows hope in others. Hope is meant to be shared. There are people around you who need to know hope is alive, and His name is Jesus. This Christmas season, while your circumstances may not change, I hope you walk out your days with joy leaking out of you because hope lives and He is with you. For yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. And because I know the conversation you're about to hear will encourage you, I'll get to it. I hope you enjoy this very special Christmas episode, a conversation with my oldest son. Merry Christmas, friends. I am so grateful for you. Well, I'm so excited for this episode today because I have the privilege of introducing y'all to my oldest son, who I am so proud of and just love being in the same room with as often as possible. So for our listeners, would you mind just giving us like a little introduction about who you are, what grade you're in, hey, how old you are, and what are some of the like hobbies, things that you're into?
Yeah, sure. So some of my hobbies are watching TV and playing with Legos, but my favorite one is playing with Legos. And then I'm in grade 4. I have lots of friends that I like to play with. And then I'm 9, almost turning 10. I have a little brother who's really fun. And I'm just happy to be on this podcast today.
Yeah, thanks, man. I have so been looking forward to this conversation with you because, as you know, I told you this since you were born, since you were just like a wee little one, how you have been literally hands down the greatest teacher that I have ever had in understanding God and his love. I just think becoming your mom opened my eyes and my world to just give me this teeny tiny glimpse of how great God's love is for us. Because being a parent, like, and not even just like a parent of your own kids, but just being an adult around kids in general, whether you're an aunt, uncle, cousin, whoever, it's so interesting like how God can use that role to show us just an ounce, like scratching the surface of how much he loves us. So you have taught me just an incredible amount of God's love. And I've told you that since you were itty bitty because it's true. And I've so been looking forward to having you on as a guest. Do you remember the first time that I shared with you that I wanted to start a podcast? Do you remember what you said?
Yeah, I remember that I said that I want to talk about courage.
Yeah, that's right. You said you wanted to be a guest on the show. And I said, "Well, what would you want to talk about, on the show?" And you're right, you said courage. And I wonder like what is it about courage that you think might encourage some listeners today? What would you want to share with somebody who may need some encouragement from the coolest 9-year-old by way, of encouragement about courage?
So, in my brain, courage is when the going gets tough, you push through, even when you feel like you're not brave, you like just pull it all together and go with it.
Yeah, and have there been times in your life when you've had to do that?
Yes, lots of times.
Like at school and stuff?
Yeah,
Maybe even with your little brother?
yeah.
Yeah. I think you're an incredibly courageous young man, and I've seen you take very courageous, brave steps through lots of different circumstances throughout your life. And yeah, I mean, is there some encouragement that you might have for someone who's maybe facing like a difficult situation right now that you think maybe you could speak some courage and some life into?
Yeah. For any listeners who might feel like you're down or stuff isn't going so well, you can just trust in God and and he'll help you through. He won't give you all the answers right away, but he'll help you get the right answers so that you can push through life.
See what I'm talking about? Like you just continually teach me by those words of wisdom that come flying out of your mouth. So thank you for sharing that because I'm gonna hold on to those words through this season. Sometimes the holidays, like as exciting as they are, like we just celebrated Thanksgiving and we're looking forward to Christmas and a new year. Like sometimes this season, as fun as it is and as exciting as it is, can also be somewhat like I don't know, people can think a lot of different feelings this time of year. Like we can have feelings of sadness or like being kind of down in the dumps or having unmet expectations. And I just think the encouragement that you have that you just shared is really, really important that God is with us and he's going to give us everything that we need to get through our situation. So thanks for sharing all that. I think it encourages me and I know it's going to encourage our listeners. So, since it is the holiday season, I just wonder like what are some of the things that you look forward to this time of year, Christmas time?
I look forward to spending time with family, opening presents, and reading the how Jesus was born in that story.
Yeah, what is it about that story that kind of like just blows your mind about God?
that he had the most coolest throne in the whole entire universe, and then he just came down to Earth as a tiny baby that was born in a dirty manger thing.
Yeah, the dirty manger thing, like in a barn full of stinky animals. Crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is the wild part about the story. Is God left like Jesus left his glory to come down and pierce the darkness and and just invade our space with his presence and give us his peace. Yeah, it's a pretty cool story. What are you like hoping for? Let's just be real. What are you hoping for gifts this year for Christmas?
I'm hoping for. I don't really want any presents except a dirt bike or anything motorized that would be cool for me.
Okay, so dirt bike or anything motorized. All right, I like it. Do you have any ideas of what we might get for your little brother?
I think you might get him something rescue related because he really likes those rescue things.
Yeah, that's a good idea. He is into those things. Okay, last two questions, man. These are two questions that I ask all my guests on the show. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Question number one. In your 9 years of experience of life,
Mm-hmm.
what do you know to be absolutely true about God? What are you absolutely sure is true about who God is?
I know that he will always help you through questions and that he will always be there with you and that he will never abandon you.
Truth, truth, and truth. I love it, man. Those are really great words. And final question, where are you finding your joy in this season? What's bringing you just this awesome amount of joy in your life?
Being with my friends and family and having lots of fun with my family.
Okay, those are great. Thank you so much for wanting to be on the show, for encouraging me, for continuing to bring so much joy into my life. And I'm just incredibly proud to call you my son and to be your mom.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, man. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you too, Mom.